Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Meredith E. Phillips. I'm a writer, reader, and bunny mama, and this is the 500 subscriber Q&A. Thank you again so much to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. 500 seems like a lot, and it's more now. It's like closing in on 550. So thank you, I very much appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed already, you can click the red subscribe button just below this video so that my videos will pop up in your subscription box when I post them on Tuesdays and Fridays. A couple weeks ago, I asked you guys if you had any questions for me, and I would be answering them in a little Q&A style video, and you guys delivered. I got a lot of questions, so I'm gonna try to get through all of them and hopefully edit this so that it is not insanely long. Also, just a little heads up reminder, the next 2 Fridays are Christmas and New Year's Day, and I'm not posting videos on those days. So there will still be Tuesday videos over the next 2 weeks, and then I'll be back to my regular Tuesday, Friday posting schedule starting the first full week in January. All of the things that I talk about in this video, all the channels, all of the links, all the things will be in the description. So please do check out some of these people because they have great content too. So let's go ahead and dive into your questions. The first one comes from Cheyenne. She actually has a shop that she wanted me to shout out. I'll put a little thing here that shows you a little bit of what she has over there. It's homemade gifts. So if you are looking for someone to support, a small business to support this holiday season, definitely check her out. She wanted to know whether I had any published books and where they were available. I do not have any published books yet. I hope to someday, but not yet. I am thinking about doing some kind of writing project next year that I would be able to share in some capacity so that I'm not just talking about writing, but I'm actually like sharing some of it with you. I'm thinking like short story or flash fiction type stuff. I don't know, we'll see. But if I do anything like that, I'll certainly let you guys know where you can find it. Margaret Pinard has a YouTube channel. Again, I'll put like a little screenshot here so you can kind of get a little preview. But Margaret wants to know, what is your favorite form of marketing for your book? This was a really interesting question. I had to think for a while on it because I haven't done any marketing because I don't have a book yet. I mean, I guess you could count this like kind of as marketing. I'm marketing myself. I don't know. Anyway, I do really love making videos. So if that counts, I'll say video making. But in terms of like, if you're talking about like promo items that a lot of authors will give away as freebies for like pre-orders and stuff like that, I think one of my favorite things that authors will sometimes do is they will give away signed book plates. So you can put that in your book copy when you get it, so it'll be like signed by the author. I really like that because it makes it a way for people to get a signature without having to go to an event. And especially now, of course, we don't have events going on. So I really like the book plate kind of thing. abbeyfoxauthor has an Instagram page, and she wanted to know, do you see yourself publishing the story I worked on for NaNoWriMo this year? I would really like to. I think it has a lot of marketability to it. I think there's a lot in it that is creative and unique. That sounds like I'm tooting my own horn, but you know what? There it is. I really like the characters. I really like the story. I think it's pretty solid. So I'm excited to dive into revisions for that starting in January. Leanegiliomee has an Instagram page and a YouTube channel, so I will link both of those below. She had several questions. The first one was, why are you a writer, or why do I write? This is a really good question. I have a video that I'd really like to do and post probably sometime in February that will really dive into why I'm writing and why specifically I like to write romance. So I don't want to give anything away. It's gonna be a really personal video, honestly. So I think I'm gonna do it, but I kind of have to, you know, garner my courage, I guess, to post it. In short, romance novels have a gift that they give you when you read them, and the gift is hope. And I have gotten a lot of hope from them over the years, and so one of the reasons that I like writing it with the hope that one day I will get to publish them is that I want to be able to return some of that hope to people who might need it. So that's one of the reasons I really enjoy writing. Her second question was, who was my first fictional boyfriend? This one's easy, and it is Pippin from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I loved Pippin as soon as we saw the first movie. I loved him. Played by Billy Boyd. He's got a Scottish accent. Like, come on, how can you not love him? He's adorable. So I've always loved Pippin. I loved him in the books. I loved his character arc in the book too. He's the character I feel like like grows the most over the series, because in the beginning he's just this sort of bumbling tag-along friend, and then by the end he's helping like save the Shire. I loved him so much, and I still have a soft spot in my heart for Pip and Took. Her third question is, what is my favorite thing about being an author? I think it comes down just to the storytelling aspect. There's something in people that love telling and hearing stories, and I love telling stories. I really love when I can figure out a twist or linking things that were at the very beginning of the story that you kind of brushed off and didn't really think about, and linking it somehow with something big at the end. I love that kind of thing. So making those kinds of connections is almost like a puzzle, and I do love puzzles. So I think that's one of the reasons that I really love being an author or a writer. charliewritewithme has an Instagram page, and she asked what my favorite part of the writing process was. My favorite part is absolutely first drafting. First drafting for me is so fun because to me at least, there's not a lot of pressure, because I know it's going to be kind of junky. There's going to be trash in it, and it's fine. It's supposed to be that way. So there's no pressure to make it like this grand, amazing piece of work. Making it into that comes later, and so the first draft is you just sort of brain dumping this story and being fine with however it comes out. So that is my favorite part of the writing process. renee.b.creates has an Instagram page, and she had a couple questions. The first one was, what is your favorite book? My favorite book of all time is still Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I love this book. I've read it so many times. I probably need to reread it because it's been several years since I've read it all the way through. But one of the things about it that I love so much is that every time I read it, something new has stood out to me, whether it's something about the characters, something about the story, something about the themes in the book. I find something new every single time I read it, and it's meant different things to me at different stages in my life. And so it's just a very special book to me, and I love it. I love Jane. I love the character. If you want to see some of my other favorite books, I did do a video a couple months back listing my top 10 favorite books of all time, at least at the time. If you want to check that out, I'll link that up here. She also asks who my favorite author is. This is such a hard one because I really love a lot of different authors who write in very different genres and have very different styles of writing. So I don't know if I can say which one is my all-time absolute favorite forever, but I will go ahead and say that I do love, in case you didn't know, I do love Victoria Schwab, who also writes under the pen name V.E. Schwab. So good. So good. She has such lyrical prose without it being purple prose. Love her. She does a lot of fantasy books, sci-fi books. She has comics out. She does young adult fantasy. She does a lot of different stuff. Definitely check her out if you have not. She has a wide range of things to choose from. In the romance genre, my favorite author is definitely Mary Balogh. I love her. She has gorgeous writing, and I think partly because she herself is Welsh and she grew up there, the way she describes like the Welsh or the English countryside and the history, like she just sprinkles in all these details that I feel like an American author or an author from another country writing about England or Wales wouldn't quite be able to get, and she just has the most wonderful stories. Renee's final question was, who is your biggest writing influence in terms of shaping the craft, not necessarily favorite author? This was a really interesting question, and I had to think for a minute, and honestly, I think it's probably AuthorTube. I've learned so much about writing and about the craft from different AuthorTubers. I don't know where else I have received that much information. It's such a great community. If you haven't really delved into AuthorTube, do it. Check out their work because there's so much encouragement and motivation and inspiration to be found here on AuthorTube. It's just a great place. Renee also had a third question. She wanted to know, what did I like about my Mac? I am a Mac user, 100%. All Mac, all day. I love it. It's what I grew up with, honestly, and I don't like PCs because they feel clunky and like not as aesthetically pleasing. Honestly, if you're looking at laptops, I don't think there's a PC that is lighter than a MacBook Air. This thing is so light. It's so easy to carry around. When I've gone to write-ins and things like that where other people are bringing their laptops, they bring these chunky laptops and I'm like, oh my gosh, that thing must weigh like 50 pounds. No, this thing thing's like a couple pounds. It's great. I also really like the construction on them. This thing is solid. Like, I've definitely dropped it a few times in its day. This laptop is from 2012, so it's getting pretty old at this point. It's still working great. I have zero issues with it in terms of its functioning. The other really great thing, if you're looking for a computer that's going to give you some really great built-in software, is this comes with iMovie. If you're looking into doing videos or anything like that, iMovie is a fantastic beginner movie making software, and it's free with the computer. So I like Macs. I would never buy a PC for myself. I have to use one for work, so like I know how to use PCs. It's not that big a deal, but I would never. The next question is from havelahmclatwriter. I think I'm saying that correctly. Please correct me if that is not the right way to say it. She has an Instagram page. She also has a website, which I'll link below as well. And she wanted to know, what is my favorite subgenre? Now, I'm assuming you mean romance subgenre. If not, let me know and I'll answer in the comments. But my favorite, my favorite romance subgenre is probably historical. I love a good historical romance. I also really like contemporary romance, but I find like if I read too many of one or the other in a row, then I'm like, okay, time for something else. Those are definitely my favorite subgenres within the romance umbrella. elizasartdesigns has 2 questions, and she also has a shop with some really cute decorative items in it. I'll post a picture here, of course, and link below to that. She wanted to know first, what does my editing process look like? You can see a little snippet of that in the beginning of this video. It's not pretty. I don't like the revision process, or at least I haven't so far. Last year was my first year where I was really trying to revise an entire novel, and it was not going great. But that's what I'm going to be attempting to do again this coming year. My process, I don't even know if I have a process at this point, because I'm really pretty new to that sort of stage in writing in general. Very generally speaking, I'm trying to get a list of things together that I need to fix, and then I think what my plan of attack is going to be going into this current project revision. I think what I'm going to try to do is take one of those things and revise all of that thing through the whole book, and then go back to the beginning and revise the next thing all the way through, and the next thing all the way through. I know some people do it like chapter by chapter, but if you do that, then you'd have to be revising like 10 things in chapter 1 and having to keep straight in your brain like how that all those 10 things were going to play out over the course of the whole thing. Like, I don't know if I can do that. So I'm going to try to pick one thing and fix that one thing all the way through, and then pick another thing and fix that all the way through. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it won't be as bad as last year. I have a little bit more faith. I'll talk about that more in my goals video coming in January. Eliza also wanted to know what my favorite soda was. I love birch beer, which sounds like beer, but it's not. It's a soda. I don't see it very often in very many places. It's kind of this savory, sweet, cherry flavored soda. It's so good. If you ever see it like for sale somewhere or in a fountain or something, like get it. It's delicious. Okay, next is from joeypaul. She has a YouTube channel and an Instagram. She is awesome, by the way. Like, you need to be following her if you're not. She is so productive and so motivating. But she wanted to know how me and my husband met. The short answer is we met at church. The longer answer is we ended up sitting next to each other in church randomly. Like, I sat down, and then a few minutes later, he and a bunch of his friends came in and like sat in the row next to me. And there's the part in a church service, which I don't know if all denominations do this, or if other religions do this, like if you go to some other religious thing. Tell me if your groups do this. There's a part in the service where they're like, hey, everyone stand up and greet the person next to you, which is my least favorite part of any service, because I do not want to greet the person next to me because they're a stranger and I don't like talking to strangers. But I'm a good sport. I stood up. He was standing next to me. We shook hands. Hi. Okay. We sat back down. Whatever. When the service was over, I stood up and was like putting on my coat and getting ready to go. And he turned to me, and you have to tell me, like, is this weird? Because to me, I was like, danger, Will Robinson. Oh no. Because I was ridiculous. But anyway, I think it's weird. I would never do this. But he stood up and was like, hey, what was your name again? And I was like, oh, it's Meredith. And he was like, you know, me and a bunch of my friends go to lunch after church. Do you want to come with us? And I was like, what? Like, why would I go to lunch with this rando and his guy friends? It was like a bunch of guys. Like, I would never. So I was like, oh, this was in college. So I was like, oh, I've got a lot of homework to do. I gotta go, bye. So I was like, that was really weird. But then we didn't see each other at all for the rest of the semester. Then that summer, we ended up meeting up again at this other church event I was involved in, and at the end of it he ended up friending me on Facebook and we ended up messaging, and then we started dating when I got back to school in the fall for my senior year. So that was that. Everkolk has a question about living in Texas. She wants to know, oh, she has an Instagram page, so I'll link that here. She wanted to know what my favorite thing about living in Texas is. We've been here now for a little over a year, and honestly there's a lot about this area that is very similar to Virginia. So there's sometimes where I'm still like, oh, hey, I'm in Texas. Like, it still hasn't like sunk in somehow. But honestly, my favorite thing, this is gonna sound so funny, my favorite thing I think about living here is how dang cheap it is. Oh my gosh. The house that we're in is just a regular house. Like, it's not super fancy or anything, but we would never have been able to afford something like this if it was in Northern Virginia. It would have been twice as expensive for sure. The other thing is how cheap utilities are, like gas and electric and all that kind of stuff. Oh my gosh, we thought we were being billed incorrectly when we first moved because it was so cheap. So the cost of living is fantastic. There's no income tax. It's great. Also, when you go to the mall, they have like horse cops. There's like security guards, I guess there's security guards on horseback at the mall. And apparently I've been told that if you go up to one of them, they have horse trading cards you can get. Okay, next I got several questions about the bunnies, which I'm more than happy to answer. Jeremyfee, he has a YouTube channel, I'll link. He wanted to know how they were doing. And Mirandatalley, she also has an AuthorTube channel. Again, I'll link that here. She has an Instagram too, which I'll link to. And she also had several questions about the bunnies. So first of all, in general, the bunnies are doing very well. We haven't had any major issues other than the poopy butt from Tilly, but you know, that's par for the course for her. And yeah, they're doing pretty good. Miranda wanted to know how we care for them indoors. So I did a video several months ago. It's one of my older videos that I had to shoot with my iPhone 6. So the quality isn't great, but if you really want details about the buns, I'll link it here. They are inside. If you have domestic rabbits, they shouldn't be outside, period. Shouldn't be outside. We bought the gates, or like the fences that you buy usually for dogs. They're dog fences, and we linked them together to form big pens for them. And then we have carpet down so that they won't be on the actual carpet and pick at it. But they're just inside there and they have plenty of room to run around. Rabbits need a lot of room to run around. They're very similar in that way to cats and dogs. You wouldn't put a cat in a carrier all day, so you shouldn't put bunnies in one of those tiny cages you get at the pet store. Don't buy pet store cages for rabbits. Just don't do that. They're terrible. And yeah, they have their litter bin, they've got their hay feeders, they've got water, they've got boxes to chew on and play with, they've got paper towel toys, like they've just got all kinds of stuff in there. We have 5 and they're in 2 separate pens because the boys fight. So we have Crispin, Lucy, and Junie in one pen, and we have Nibbles and Tilly in the second pen. We got almost all of them from shelters or rescue groups. Nibs was our first bun, and we got him at the Washington Humane Society in downtown DC. That was in October 2011. Old. They're all old at this point. That's where we got him. We did end up getting Junie from a farm, from sort of like an amateur breeder, which I would not recommend. When we did that, we didn't really know all the issues with breeders and things like that, so I would never go to a breeder again, but that is where we got her. We still love her. She's still part of the family, but I wouldn't go back to a breeder. Adopt, don't shop. Then we got Crispin, and we actually got Crispin, Lucy, and Tilly from the same rabbit rescue organization. If you're anywhere in the Northern Virginia, DC, Southern Maryland area, and you're looking for a rabbit rescue, Friends of Rabbits is the one to go to. They are awesome. They're so helpful and just amazing. They do great work helping rabbits find homes in the area. Miranda also wanted to know what my plans for the channel were going forward, and I have a lot of plans. I don't know why I said it like that, but I do have a lot of plans. But it's gonna be kept a little bit secret until January. I'm going to share some of the details in my January goals video, which will be going up whatever the first Tuesday in January is. I'll have all that posted there, and then I have several bigger announcements I'm going to be making in January, so come on back for that. Okay, we have one more person to go through. Kelli Wright. She really came through with a bunch of questions, so I'm gonna go through them all. She has an AuthorTube channel, which I'll link, of course, and an Instagram, so I'll put all that below. She is a total sweetheart. Her first question was, what inspired you to choose your day job? Money. Money is what inspired me to choose it. I needed some money, so I was like, yes, I will work for this place. Honestly, like, I work as an operations officer. There's some parts of it that are kind of fun. I enjoy doing spreadsheet work and like figuring out pricing issues and fixing stuff. So like some of that is kind of cool. I don't feel like it's a particularly inspiring job, but it pays the bills. I'll keep it for now. Second question was, what writer stereotypes do you fall in? I definitely fall into the procrastinator category, where I'm like, okay, today I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna do some writing. It's gonna be awesome. And then it's like hours later and I'm like, yeah, writing time. And then hours later I'm like, maybe we'll do writing tomorrow. I do that a lot. Her third question was, what are your favorite cliches or tropes when reading? And then her fourth question was, what are your favorite cliches or tropes when you were the one writing? And honestly, I think it's the same for both. My number one favorite trope of all time is the marriage of convenience trope. I don't care how you're serving it to me, I will eat it up. It's my favorite. If that's the trope that your book has, I don't need to know anything else. I will read it. Just give it to me. I also love writing that trope. It's so much fun. The other trope that I like that isn't like romance specific, although it can be romance and it's great when it is, but I love when you have a really stoic, serious character paired with like sprightly kind of character. I love that pairing. It's the best. I think that's partly the reason why that lemon tree episode of The Simpsons is one of my all-time favorites, because you have Nelson who gets paired with Martin for part of the episode, and it's hilarious. Her fifth question, she wants to know, am I doing traditional publishing or self-publishing? At the moment, I am aiming for traditional publishing. There's a lot that you have to do with self-publishing that I'm just not interested in learning that much about. I don't want to have to find a cover designer. I don't want to have to find a proofreader. I don't want to do those things. That sounds like a lot of work and a lot of research that I just am not interested in trying for myself. Obviously, traditional publishing, those kind of come with the package, so to speak. So that's what I'm aiming for at the moment. Number 6, her question is, for traditional publishing, do I have a dream agent? I do. I know you're not supposed to, but like, can you help it? Probably not. If I could be represented by pretty much anyone at Root Literary, that would be amazing. I have so much respect for Holly Root, and she's the agent for 2 of my favorite authors, Victoria Schwab and Christina Lauren. Like, that would be amazing. Is it gonna happen? I'm probably not. I don't know if I would even query. That would be so scary. Kelli also wants to know what my favorite number is. My favorite number is 21. My second favorite number is 7. Her next question, she wanted to know if I have a favorite bunny child. No, I love them all. I can't pick. They all have their own little quirks and personalities, and they're all so cute. I can't pick. Don't make me pick. Number 9, she wanted to know if I ever miss Virginia. Yes, I do. I still kind of feel like a stranger here. Kind of like we're just visiting, but I don't really belong here yet, and I don't feel like the town belongs to me. Whereas I grew up in Northern Virginia, so I felt like I belonged there, and I felt like part of that place belonged to me too somehow. So I do really miss Virginia. I miss knowing where things are. I don't know where anything is. I know where Target is and the grocery store and maybe a few other places, but I don't know anything about anywhere in this area. So I feel kind of like lost and unmoored. And her last question was, would we ever get a pet besides bunnies? I would love to get a dog. I've always wanted a dog. And now that we're in a house with a backyard, like a dog would make a little more sense than when we were in apartments. So definitely dog. But I don't know if that's a great idea while we also still have the bunnies. That was a lot of questions. I really hope I can cut this down because I'm pretty sure I've been talking for like 40 minutes at this point. But thank you all so much again for your questions, for your support, for subscribing to my channel. I will link everyone down below who asked questions, so please go check out their various social media platforms. And again, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I post videos on Tuesdays and Fridays, except for the next 2 Fridays, which I will be taking off because it is Christmas and New Year's. You can also find me over on Instagram at Meredith Phillips Writes. Thank you so much for watching this incredibly long video. I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye. I have rude people honking their horns out there. Okay, I don't know why I went this way when I could easily have done this. Or is it here? Gosh darn it, it's here. I'll link it here. So those are definitely my favorite subgenres. I turned into Sean Connery, sorry. Her third question, good job.